You've heard of the Mustang, the Corvette, the Camaro, the 911, and maybe even the Countach. But here's the thing. In nearly a century and a half of automotive history, thousands of cars have come and gone. Some of them made headlines, while others quietly slipped into obscurity, despite being absolute gems. Today, we're taking a ride through time and shining a spotlight on the best cars you've probably never heard of. From forgotten luxury machines to underdog racers, these are the cars that deserve a second look. At number 1, the Alpine A106. Most folks know the Alpine A110. James Bond drove one, and it became a rally legend in the 1970s. But before that, there was the Alpine A106, the very first Alpine ever made. Built in the 1950s by Jean Redelet, a Renault dealer and part-time rally driver, the A106 used the humble mechanicals of the Renault 4 CV. It had a lightweight fiberglass body, a rear-mounted engine, and by the standards of its day, impressive speed and agility. Think of it as the foundation stone for everything Alpine would go on to build, right up to their modern Formula One team. At number 2, the Audi front. When you think Audi, you probably imagine quattro all-wheel drive and modern German luxury. But back in the 1930s, Audi built something groundbreaking, the Audi front. It was their very first front-wheel drive car, powered by a straight-six engine from fellow auto union brand Wanderer. Between 1933 and 1938, this was the only car Audi produced. It was ahead of its time, laying the groundwork for the front drive setups that became the company's signature decades later. At number 3, Auto Avio Costruzioni 815. Now here's one that even many car enthusiasts haven't heard of. The Auto Avio Costruzioni 815 has a strange name, but it's historic. It was the very first car built by Enzo Ferrari. In 1940, Ferrari couldn't legally use his own name on a car yet, so he created Auto Avio Costruzioni. Using Fiat parts and a 1.5-liter straight-8 engine, only 2 examples were ever made, both raced in the Mille Miglia. Neither finished the race, but Ferrari later admitted the car had been built too quickly. Still, this was the first step toward the legend that became Ferrari. At number 4, Benz Velo. Everyone knows about Carl Benz's 1886 patent motor wagon, often called the world's first car. But have you heard of the Benz Velo? Launched in 1894, this four-wheeled machine was smaller, faster, and more practical than the motor wagon. It even offered pneumatic tires starting in 1896. Over 1,200 were built, making the Velo arguably the first mass-produced car in history, decades before Ford's Model T. At number 5, BMW 700. Today, BMW is synonymous with luxury sedans and high-performance M cars. But in the late 1950s, the company was on the brink of collapse. Their savior? A tiny car with a 0.7-liter engine. The BMW 700 was small, light, and surprisingly sporty. Its success in motorsport and popularity with the public helped keep BMW alive. Between 1959 and 1965, nearly 190,000 units were sold. Without this humble little coupe, BMW might never have become the giant we know today. Please hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying this video. It really helps the channel. At number 6, Buick Series 50 Super. Sometimes cars fade into obscurity, not because they failed, but because they were only around for a blink of an eye. The Buick Series 50 Super, built in 1940 and 1941, sat on GM's C-body platform and packed a 4.1-liter Fireball straight-8 engine. Annual production topped 100,000 units, which is no small feat. But after just 2 years, Buick pulled the plug, leaving the Super as a short-lived but fascinating piece of pre-war American luxury. At number 7, Cadillac Series 72. In 1940, Cadillac offered the Series 72, a slightly shorter and cheaper version of the prestigious Series 75, powered by a 5.7-liter V8. It wasn't a commercial hit and lasted just 1 year, but it left an important legacy: Cadillac's adoption of recirculating ball steering across its entire lineup the very next year. Sometimes even the forgotten models moved the whole industry forward. At number 8, Carter car. Here's one from way back in the early 1900s. The Carter car wasn't famous for its speed or looks, but for its transmission. It used a friction drive system, basically an early version of today's continuously variable transmission, or CVT. GM founder William Durant loved the idea so much that he bought the company in 1909. Unfortunately, when Durant was forced out of GM a few years later, the new bosses decided the Carter car wasn't worth continuing. By 1915, the brand was gone. Still, it was an early glimpse of the future. At number 9, Chevrolet Yeoman. Everyone knows Chevy's big names like Camaro and Corvette, but in 1958, they launched something a little more humble, the Chevrolet Yeoman. It was the cheapest, most stripped-down, full-size station wagon you could buy. No fancy features, no luxury extras, just lots of space for the family. The concept lived on in other models like the Brookwood, but the Yeoman itself only lasted a single year. At number 10, Ferrari 208 Turbo. And finally, here's a Ferrari you might not know, the 208 Turbo. At first glance, it looks just like the legendary 308, but under the hood, things are very different. The 308 had a 2.9-liter V8. The 208, sold only in Italy, was downsized to just 2 liters to dodge heavy taxes. At first, it was underwhelming, but in 1982, Ferrari added a turbocharger bumping power from 153 horsepower to a healthy 217, actually more than the early fuel-injected 308s. It may not be the most famous prancing horse, but the 208 Turbo was proof that Ferrari could make a small displacement engine roar like a true supercar. These are the first batch of hidden gems that remind us just how rich and surprising car history really is. Tune in for the rest next time. If you know a car you think we missed, let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more forgotten stories from the world of cars, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, drive safe, and I'll see you in the next video.